Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Shankly Sessions, the Liverpool podcast we bring you each and every week. Quick little video here that said I do on the drive home, normally stuck in traffic. I don't really cover the Europa League. I said it at the start of the season, I wouldn't really be covering it. I wouldn't really be doing previews and match reactions and all, because I felt very disappointed at the end of last season that we had ended up back in the Europa League and that we weren't in the Champions League. And I felt that Liverpool Football Club really should be at the top of the table when it, that top table of European football and stuff like that. But as the journey went on, I got interested in it, and obviously in my home city, Dublin, the final there and stuff like that and all, there was a general level of excitement. We were hot favourites to win it and all that kind of stuff. So I said I'd jump on today and I'd just give a kind of a bit of a breakdown, a bit of context, a bit of therapy in relation to that result and performance last night. I think on so many levels it was wrong. I think on so many levels we got it wrong. And I think it's just something that we need to absorb, and we need to be careful. We've kind of pulled out the wooden block at the bottom of the Jenga pile. We're teetering on the, it's waving back and forward in the wind, the tower of success. And it's kind of like so much in there, just at a certain, like at a mental level as opposed to a physical level. And I wonder, is it draining us? I wonder, will we look back at this season at the timing of Jurgen announcing his departure? Could there have been a better time to do it? Should have been held to the end of the season. Who knows? When is there a good time to do it? To talk about the end of an era that we've had with Jurgen Klopp, that probably should have delivered much more success, but certainly delivered some fabulous moments that we would cherish for years to come. And generations of Liverpool fans will look at some of the moments that was created during this Jurgen Klopp era. May not necessarily look at the pile of silverware that was created. Probably should have been more. But we were up against Pep, and we were up against an unbelievable Man City side and stuff like that and all, but that's neither here nor there. But I think if we focus purely on last night, and I think, the COP with their protest, at a key time in our season, and I don't think anyone thought we weren't going to beat Atalanta last night. I think most people thought we were probably going to beat them comfortably, and maybe we would have been able to go over there with a kind of a weakened side as we switched up to the Premier League. And I think it just all unravelled. And I think, to be honest, after a few minutes you could see that we had gotten it really, really wrong. And I think after 25 minutes we had really gotten it really, really wrong. But Jurgen stood on the sideline and he stuck with it, and one of the failings we see from Jurgen at times is his reluctance to make change at times when change is screaming at you from the pitch. And we seen that last night. Now, having said that, when he did make the changes and he did bring on more of the first team players, if you want to call it, and stuff like that, we got considerably worse. And that was kind of the worrying thing for me, that when we did put the likes of Mo and Jota and players like that on, we got considerably worse. The thing I didn't like either as well was Harvey being hooked. I thought Harvey was one of our best performers in that first half, and I thought it was harsh on him getting hooked. But I just think overall, I think no one performed. And my real concern was when you have that amount of international captains on the pitch and that amount of senior players on the pitch, and we were all over the place structure wise. I mean, at times Atalanta were playing balls into spaces, and like in a 20-yard square there wasn't a Liverpool player visible in the TV shot. And that to me is just very, very strange. It stinks of desperation. It stinks of, no formation and no plan and all that. And obviously we got a bit reactory as well. So obviously when you start coughing up goals, Quavian had a bad night between the sticks, no doubt about it. But at other times he's absolutely saved our bacon. I thought he was poor for the first goal. I thought he should have saved it, especially after making that save with his mush point blank. Which to me must have been a harder save to make, but maybe he didn't know much about it and he just whacked into his face. But it's neither here nor there. But I suppose what comes out of last night is, timing is key in these things. And we want to try. We're consumed with wanting to send Jurgen off the right way. And I think it's going to be really, really difficult now. Can we go to Italy next week and turn this around? We sure can. Will this team turn it around? Probably not. Because I don't see, like in that Barcelona turnaround that time, that was a very different team. But not only that, that was a team that had confidence in keeping a clean sheet at home. You know? That had confidence in potentially keeping clean sheets. And I think with this team, I don't think that confidence is there. I think we're coughing up chances and goals too much. And I think because we're coughing up chances, ultimately it will lead to goals when you do play progressive, positive teams like Atalanta, who like to attack, who like to break, who like to score. You know, and that's where it all came unstuck last night. And I think what happened was, I think we kind of devalued a little bit through our starting lineup and our thoughts. I think we were thinking more towards, we had overlooked this situation somewhat, and we were thinking more towards Palace. And I know Klopp often says in his press conferences that he doesn't look beyond the next game, but I think last night kind of stank at that, and I think he got caught with his pants down last night, if you like, in terms of the preparation for last night's game. I think the play was disjointed. I think when the players were introduced, I think they looked a little bit lost. You know, Jota had some great chances, 2 headers that he would normally bread and butter put away. I hope that's going to knock off the rust, hopefully, for Sunday. I'm heading over Sunday to the Crystal Palace game. But there's kind of varying views at the moment in relation to this protest on the COP and what it achieved and stuff like that. And I hear that the groups are going back into a room to talk again, that they weren't happy in relation to kind of what was semi-agreed, and then something else was put out there and all that kind of stuff. All I can tell you, folks, is I would give a left arm to have a season ticket for Liverpool. I'm going over, and it's going to cost me an arm and a leg for this Crystal Palace game. I got an email in this morning from a company that I'm not going to mention because I just think they're absolute thieves. For the final game of the season, the final Wolves game against Wolves, Klopp's last game at Anfield. And they're quoting, I think for one night and the ticket, €1,200. So when you're sitting there with your banner packed away, absolutely going ballistic over your 40 or 50 pound increase on your season ticket or whatever it is, I don't know what it is. I don't know what a season ticket costs. I don't know. I've heard that there hasn't been any increases for the last 5 or 6 years. I don't know. I don't know what the increase means per game or any of that. But let that sink in. €1,200 just for the Wolves game. So that's what we're facing. So when you guys locally, you know, have a go off overseas fans or fans travelling over and all that kind of stuff, just let that sink in. The investment that we make going over, if you go over 2 or 3 times a year, that's a couple of grand. So once we move on from that, I'm not too sure, did the protest really achieve what it wanted? Obviously they're back in talking. Can we assume that season ticket prices can just be held and on hold in terms of inflation and everything else forever? I wouldn't think so. I think things have to progress, as they always do, and inflation is a key guide to that. Anyone living at the moment knows that your ESB is costing a lot more than it used to, that your gas costs a lot more than it used to. I filled up my car today, it cost me an arm and a leg. So everything is going up in this world. And I get the wanting to call a halt to it and all that, and I understand the protest, but I just think it's way damaging. And the problem for this now at the moment is twofold. One, the team was already struggling. We've gone through this season 3 absolutely terrible games against Man United. Terrible games against our old rival. Really, really were important to us. But we've also been struggling on the pitch. We've had to juggle things, we've had injuries, we've had young players coming in doing a great job for us. We've mulled through And we find ourselves at the business end of the season. We were in a quarter-final of a Europa League. We were joint top of the league just on goal difference. Carabao Cup already put away. And we had an opportunity in the FA Cup and we blew it. And I just think we're at a pivotal time in the season now. We can't afford any more slip-ups. I think if there was ever a situation where draws are going to feel like losses, this is it. I don't think we can afford to slip up any further in the league. I'm looking at the league, and the problem here is if we do go away to Italy with a mindset to try and pull this out of the bag, the problem that you're going to find is, can we go over there next week and score 4 goals unanswered? Maybe. Is it likely? Probably not. But if we exude that energy to try and do that, what effect is that going to have on the players in terms of coming back to try and keep on pursuing the league? And I hear Carragher today talking about how, we should just bin off the Europa League, send the kids over on Thursday and focus on getting the league. And in some cases there might be some validity to that. I think in reality, I don't think it's what Liverpool does. We don't bin off trophies, and I don't think we should. I think we should go over there next Thursday and we should have a real go. And I think if you're playing the Thursday, Monday conundrum, whatever it is, so be it. We've put ourselves in this position. We need to try and find a way to dig ourselves out. And we at least need to go over there next Thursday and give a very good account of ourselves. Because last night was nothing short of embarrassing and shambolic. On every level. On every level. No formation. No structure, no plan, no leaders on the pitch, And the one thing that comes out of last night is really what a job Michael Edwards has on his hands now, coming back himself and Richard Hughes. We know that potentially Amaran is signed up to the project. He denied any connection or any the news that came out that there was a verbal agreement has all been denied. I think he probably wanted to dampen it down really because he wants to get over the rest of the season and get Sporting through to win the Portuguese title, and I can understand that. But we're kind of doing everything we can off the pitch to minimise the effect of Jurgen leaving the building. But it's going to be tough. Amaran's going to come in, he plays a different structure, he plays a different style. There's players at the club right now that aren't going to fit into that style. The whole Mo Salah thing, he's probably going to exit the building. I think it would be quite a push to think that Liverpool can get a deal over the line there and not cash in on Mo Salah this summer. So we're going to see a very different Liverpool next year, and it might take a couple of seasons, to get us back humming again. There might be it's not unfair to say that there's going to be a drop off from the Jurgen Klopp era. There's no doubt there is. We're going to play a new style. Players aren't going to be used to it. We have a new manager in. Michael Edwards is going to be doing his thing. Richard Hughes is going to be doing his thing. But there's a huge, if you look back on last summer and what we had to do and some of the rebuilding we had to do, I think we're after going into this. We'll be going into this summer with an even bigger rebuild to do. Because I think a lot of elements of our front line have shown this season that and it's hard to say it, that they're just simply not good enough. I think Luis Diaz has come back in the new year after all the other family stuff and all, and the injury and all that kind of stuff, and he's come back, and I think since his dad started touting him out to Barcelona, I think he's been more focused, but again needs so many chances. Darwin Núñez, while we love the whole chaotic thing, he frustrates the hell out of us. And is he ever going to get to a point where he's going to be clinical instead of needing so many chances? And it's when they miss these gilt-edged chances, it's the body language, it's the facials, it's all this kind of thing. It's like we care more than they do, and it's frustrating. And I just think now, looking into the league, would it surprise anyone if we drew with Palace on Sunday? Wouldn't surprise me. Palace score against the bigger teams. They have players more than capable. They're physical. Are we going to come out on Sunday and fancy that battle? Are we going to try and put it to them? Or are we going to whimper away like last night? That remains to be seen. Are these players up for this next 7 weeks or whatever it is, to get us over the line, to get another Premier League title? Are we going to find ourselves in a situation where we're relying on other teams to do stuff for us? Kind of already find ourselves there, bar the goal difference. So it's really a frustrating time at the moment to be a Liverpool fan. There's a lot going on. You know, there's the mental aspect of losing Klopp, the unknown of going into a new manager, the return of Michael Edwards, Richard Hughes coming in, you know, analytical people leaving, coming and going, medical teams leaving, coming and going, coaching teams leaving, coming and going. Massive upheaval at the club. And there's probably a lot of players out there playing last night, and there's a lot of players sitting on the bench and whatever it is, who probably know at this stage that they potentially don't have a future at Liverpool Football Club, that they've ran their course, that they've done their error, that, you know, that they've achieved what they've achieved, and now it's time for change. And when you've been on that roller coaster ride under Jurgen Klopp, and you've tasted success, and you've been in and around it and in those exhausting mental battles, it's tough. It's tough to face down a change. It's tough to face that not only is this the end of the Jurgen Klopp era at Liverpool, but it's also the end for a lot of those players. And we've seen it with Mane, we've seen it with Bobby, we've seen it with Fabinho and Jordan and all these guys. And now we're looking in, and it's going to change greatly. We're gonna stare into a summer where arguably one of the best players who's ever played for us is probably going to exit the building in Mo Salah. You know, Amarin plays with 3 at the back. He plays a 3-4-3. So where does Robbo fit into that? Or does he fit into it? Where does Costas fit into it? Or does he fit into it? You know, what players will he want to bring in conjunction with Michael Edwards? And all these other things, all these unanswered questions that need to be answered, that we don't have the answers to. So it's it's frustrating. And that fear of not delivering for the gaffer. And I think what the players need to do is they need to focus again on delivering for themselves, and delivering for the club, and delivering for the fans. And then the shakeout of that, if that's where they're focused, will ultimately deliver for the manager. But I think the protest last night on the Kop, I think I'm not blaming it there. I think Klopp got it wrong last night. I think the players got it wrong. I think at so many levels we got it wrong. But I don't think it helped. And if that's Jurgen Klopp's last European tie at Anfield, it's a sad indictment of the timing and choosing of the timing to do the protest. And I think that's what it could be. And you think about it, there's a lot of negativity at the moment surrounding him leaving, in terms of, if you look at his last 2 games at Old Trafford, absolutely crap. Man United knocking us out of the FA Cup. This is all in his last season, you know. Not getting the win over Man City at Anfield. So there's a lot of poor situations there as you go out the door and let the door hit you on the way out, kind of thing. And I think if this just ends up with a Carabao Cup, and if we pitter away in the league and we roll over next week and have our bellies tickled, I think it's going to be a sad indictment on that protest, on the fans. I thought Anfield yesterday, I thought the fans were an absolute disgrace. I just thought there's just this, and I know that a team has to give you something to cheer about, but sometimes you have to pick your team up off the canvas as well. And I think too many times this season, where we're looking for a fortress, we've got a church. And I just think it's a sad indictment as well of how kind of the fan base has evolved into kind of nearly being taken over a little bit by a kind of a hospitality thing. And I think in some respects a little bit of identity is being lost in that. Teams don't come to Anfield now fearing the trip to Anfield. As a matter of fact, a lot of teams come to Anfield now embracing the trip. And I think we have to get that back. I think collectively as a group we have to get that back. And I just think the disappointment of last night needs to be washed away. I think the gaffer has 2 days or 3 days or whatever it is to fix that up and put it right. And stand up and take responsibility himself as well for the decisions that he made too. And fix up for Sunday. Because no more slip-ups is tolerated in this league. If we draw with Palace on Sunday, it's dusted. It's over. And we have an opportunity to go top and put the pressure on Arsenal, who are playing Villa then at 4:30 or whatever it is. And that's the only way we're going to ratchet pressure up on Arsenal. If you look at the 3 teams at the moment, Man City are slowly getting back to their rhythm of the run-in. Arsenal are firing on all cylinders, free-flowing, firing, scoring goals, keeping clean sheets, not giving up much, all these kind of things. That's the recipe. That's championship recipe. And I think for us, it's been a tough season. I think we've had to withstand a lot of different factors, and not necessarily any different to a lot of Premier League teams. But I just think, as I said about last night's game, I think it was shocking in terms of going in and what we expected to achieve, but probably not surprising, because I think with the number of chances we've been coughing up, I think it was only a matter of time before we did come up against a team that actually was clinical enough to take the chances and put them away. And let's be honest, that 3-0, we could have scored a couple of goals alright, but they could have scored potentially 5 or 6. And I think we've got 7 days. We've got to do what we got to do against Palace, get the win, points over performance, try and get players back and get a rhythm. I was disappointed to hear about Trent being on the bench but not really being available to play, but we were allowed to put numbers on the bench, which is really, really frustrating. And I think collectively, as fans, club, team, manager, gaffer, coach and everything, need to come together, and we need to give this one final drive. Because I do believe, and I know a lot of people aren't saying this, but I do believe it could be a couple of years before we're in around the title race again. I think it's going to take time. I think we're putting little blocks in place like Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes and stuff like that and all. But I think a lot of root and branch stuff has to be done on that squad. And I think it's going to take time to do that. We know with FSG, they normally don't blow it out the park straight away and do enough that's needed to be done. Maybe if Mo Salah exits the building, maybe his money will be key to it. We know last time Coutinho went, bringing in Alisson and Van Dijk was pivotal. So maybe if Salah goes and it's big money, maybe that's the opportunity to bring in 2 or 3 quality players at the very high end that will make that difference, similar to what we did at that stage. So look, we've been here before, we've been down and out, and we've found a way to come back. So let's park the negativity, let's park the infighting. If your sole purpose is to get your season ticket price kept at where it's at, fine. But we're Liverpool Football Club, and we have to support them. We have to get them through this period. We have to make sure we give the gaffer a good send-off. But we have to get players back, and we have to get them, knock that bit of rust off them and find our rhythm again. It's like Rocky 3, isn't it, when Apollo talks to Rocky about finding that rhythm. On the toes, on the toes. That's what we have lost. The talent is there, but each of those players have to look very deep within themselves to find that final push for the last 6-7 weeks to get over the line and get it done. And it starts on Sunday with Palace, and certainly it's a massive one next Thursday as well. Surely to God, we're going to try and find a way to get back into that tie and not sign off in this fashion. Folks, until next time, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, and we'll be back tomorrow. I think we're on the boat tomorrow, myself and Darren and Ben and Christian. We're going to be on the boat and we're going to be doing a little Crystal Palace preview. But I'll have a good weekend. Weather's beautiful here on the east coast of Ireland at the moment. It's a bit windy, but it's dry and the sun is out, and that's all we can ask for. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, whatever you're up to. Let's go Reds. We'll never walk